Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This will be your show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of What If, a great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So first and foremost, obviously, we're picking up with Captain Carter in the basically Winter Soldier, during the event of Captain America Winter Soldier. And I like her and Natasha's back and forth, because I had to go back and rewatch Winter Soldier, because I feel like Natasha and Steve had theirs, but I'm like, they're really like tight-knit, because even later on she's like, yeah, what we call BFFs. I'm like, what Steve and Natasha would be called friends, but I don't think they'd be that tight. So I think that's kind of an interesting development of this universe, because she's already trying to like get her like hooked up with someone else. I'm trying to remember, did Natasha make that reference about Peggy? Because it's like, oh, so-and-so in accounting, and she's like, yeah, nothing good ever starts with so-and-so from accounting. It's like, would it feel better if his name was Steve? It's like, ooh, that was kind of a low blow. Like, I'm trying to remember, I don't think that came up. Like, I don't think, like, Natasha and Steve had that type of rapport. Maybe they did. Like I said, I've seen Winter Soldier twice, but the last time I watched it, it's been a couple years. I don't remember that line, but maybe it was in the movie. But gets on board, does her thing, the Watcher comes, and he proceeds to start picking up everyone. He's picking up T'Challa, who's helping Peter, which I'm like, oh, at the end of the day, T'Challa's universe might be the best universe. That might be like the best outcome all around. It's just like, you save the universe countless times, you stop Thanos from doing what he's doing. Granted, there's probably other threats. I mean, obviously the whole ego thing, but he saves Peter at the end of that. So it's like, okay, but obviously all of them are getting plucked out at that point in time. We skip over World 3. Obviously, we've already went to World 4. I'm calling those the worlds respective of the episodes they're from. Skipping over Episode 5, we get Killmonger from Episode 6, because it turns out... Oh, I know, well, I'll skip back to it, but that Killmonger, like, Wakanda's up in flames. Shuri and Pepper are coming, like, to arrest him, but the Watcher grabs him up. Then you have Gamora and Iron Man. And when that scene came out, I had to pause. I was like, what universe is this? Like, what universe could this have played out? It's like, no, Tony's dead in that. He's dead in that. It's like, what? I was like, right. So I've talked about this before. There is an episode that was supposed to be a part of season 1 that they pushed to season 2. So I'm assuming it's this world, which is kind of interesting, because like we kind of got the end result without the full backstory of how we got to that end result. Because this is Tony talking about putting an armor around the world, but this Gamora is known for killing Thanos, and obviously they're meeting the dwarf who ends up making Stormbreaker for Thor, when him, Rocket, and Groot go and visit him during Infinity War. So I'm like, maybe it's around the Infinity War timeline. So, because Tony's talking about a new threat. But like, since he is referencing the armor around the world, I'm curious. No, it might not even been a word. He might have said like armor around the universe. So I'm wondering, maybe like the Age of Ultron thing played out a little differently in that universe too, or I don't know, or maybe Age of Ultron didn't. I don't know. Like, it's just interesting knowing, like, it's an interesting tease, which it wasn't meant to be a tease, because that episode just happened to get pushed back to next season. So it's like, or pushed forward next season, however you want to look at it. But it's like, it wasn't meant to be a tease, but it is a neat tease of kind of giving you an idea of at least one of the stories we'll be getting next season. But then obviously you get Party Thor. And I love that the whole thing of like, Thor, son of Ash, have at thee, and he's going against all the Ultron bots, and he's like, oh, I was about to go on a date, I was going to do my hair, it's just like, okay, Thor, calm down, and he grabs Thor, and then like brings him, and it's like, yep, they're in a pub, and it's like, for Peggy, it's like, this place looks familiar, and it's like, yeah, Doctor Strange is like, yeah, I made it, because I figured, I looked through your files or your memories and stuff like that, and knew that this place would be significant to you, so obviously, they're being told, like, right, what this is all about. They are the guardians of the multiverse, which I'm like, I don't know why I didn't think that was going to happen. Of course it was going to be that. It's, like, very impressive. So, obviously, all these different backgrounds, they've all been chosen for their set of skills that, them together, like, because this isn't just about saving one universe. They have to come together. A team has to be made to, because they're not even technically the Avengers of the multiverse or something like that, which I guess would be a little more fitting, but it is about protecting more so than avenging. So they're the guardians of the multiverse rather than the Avengers of the multiverse. But at the end of the day, like, I love Thor, like, just kind of like, oh, I got a date, and he walks out, and just like a spiraling somethingness that he's about to get sucked up into, and it's like, right, so we're all in, let's do this. They're calculating their plans on how, because there's a lot of conversations that don't happen, and I'm like, so does T'Challa know that that's his cousin Eric? I mean, to be fair, like, he came back to his world, so who knows what his relationship is like with Eric. It's like, oh, you became the Black Panther in your universe, and Eric's probably like, Yep, I got chosen as king. Yeah, I came back home. They welcomed me with open arms. Maybe he'll like fudge the truth, be like, yeah, I stopped this bad guy, like the Tony in my universe. Oh, he was so evil. Rather like, oh, the U.S. government's trying to invade Wakanda, and I came there to help them. Like, he could spew it certain ways. We don't get that conversation, but I like the thought of being able to kind of fill it in with like whatever I want type of thing. That might be a criticism of just like, right, like a lot of those conversations get, because they're the only two that really have like the actual, which is interesting because like Gamora would have issues because, well, Gamora and Peggy would, because it's like, oh, you killed the son of like one of my best buds. Then like Gamora's like, you killed one of my best buds, because apparently her and Tony are pretty tight. So, but they have their what, regardless of all of that, like I said, it's just it's interesting to think about, you know, what are they going to include and not include in that, you know, what would have been included or not included in those conversations, rather. But they're formulating their plan, and the Watcher basically sends them to a place. And I think this also answers a question some people had last episode, of like, why did he leave like Earth alone? Because like to him, he thought all the life on the planet was already wiped out. To be fair, there was only 2 humans, and those 2 humans kept killing his Sentinels. So I guess he just felt like they're alone. There's nothing they can do. I'll leave them to like, because it's quiet enough because there's no other living humans on that planet. So especially when Clint ultimately dies and it's only Natasha, like what's there to like worry about in that? So I think that was kind of his ultimate flaw, thinking like, oh, it's just one world with one human on it. What can one normal human do? So I think that's probably like the justification for that. But this world is quiet and it's not worth coming after because there's no life on it. So they have kind of time to relax and sit down and stuff like that. Obviously, like, I like the conversation where Doctor Strange, you know, it's like, right, he ended up referencing at one point Steve being the Captain America in his universe, and she's like, now that's a sight I like to see. I was like, oh, that's really sweet. You know, also, like, Killmonger is examining one of those helmets, and then Gamora's like, do you trust him? And Thor's like, I trust everyone, which I'm like, oh, that's super sweet. Like, he is the party dude and everything, so... but you also have a Strange's situation, like his arm morphs, and they're like, whoa, like, what's up with that? And it's like, no, just ignore that. It's like, because it's still, like, bubbling beneath the surface, like, all that power, so... they're trying to form, like, you know, it's like, right, let's get ready for the plan. Like, Gamora and Killmonger go off as part of the Watcher's plan, and the others stay there. And Doctor Strange, like, well, first and foremost, I love that they're doing the celebration, and he's trying to give the big speech and everything. He's like, when one sorcerer told me, like, and it was like something, it was borderline over depressing, and then T'Challa's like, all right, you've done enough, Doctor, let me take over this. Together, we are Guardians of the Multiverse. Is like, yeah, leave it to T'Challa. T'Challa's the one that handles the speeches. He's the one that was able to talk Thanos down. He's got this. But yeah, I love that, like, Thor, like, shoots off his lightning, and it's like, oh, well, thanks for kind of screwing that. Like, me don't have time more to prepare. He's like, I literally told you that I'm very good. I have a very good expertise at getting unwanted attention. I warned you. You were saying that this could be part of the plan, and lo and behold. I do like the representation of, like, the armored up, like, stuff that Steven gives them, like, when he, puts it around their bodies, and like it's almost like, it's not a stand from like, but it's almost like stand-esque of just like what it represents and how it is different based on each character. I just thought that was such a dope aesthetic. But oh dude, I love Thor like trying to go at it first and then just like Ultron stopping him. And I love that he's like, wow, you guys are normally easy to kill, because it's like, yeah, he's at some point in time, he's killed at least one of every one of you. To be fair, he's probably killed a multitude of multiple versions of all of you across the multiverse, because who knows how many universes he's destroyed so far. But I love the thing when, like, Thor throws Mjolnir and then Doctor Strange makes multiple ones. That was actually pretty dope. And T'Challa, like, Peggy's like, this is going to work, right? He's like, you know this is going to work for sure, right? He's like, of course not. And so he takes off, and I love that whole situation. Like, she jumps and, like, bashes him with the shield, grabs on the Mjolnir, and flies back to the ground. I was like, that motion was sick, dude. Kind of just going all out, like also bringing all the Mjolnirs together, and then you have that one solo one striking like that. Then Thor brings down the thunder. T'Challa was it at this point or was that later? He ended up stealing the Soul Stone back. I think it might have been in that moment he was able to do it. Might have been later. Ultron's not too happy. Luckily, they go through a portal and end up on Natasha's world. Yeah, because at that point they definitely had the Soul Stone, because it's like, right, T'Challa just sticky fingers. But they meet up with Gamora and Killmonger and into Natasha, which she's like, who are you guys? And obviously Peggy was able to talk her down, because it's like, I know you, I know your dad. I know all this about, like, you. There's only, like, 3 people in this world you trust, and, like, I count myself lucky amongst them. It's like, we must be pretty tight. She's like, yeah, what would you call BFFs, you know? So they got Natasha's help, because she's the only living person left, and Ultron finds his way here. Strange does this thing of kind of armoring her up, and I just love the execution of just the crazy stuff that's happening. At one point, Ultron was like, you know what, I can destroy this world with a thought. Wipes out the world, but then, like, Strange reverses time, grabs, like, the destruction of everything, and eats it, and it's like, wait, what? How did you... And then I was like, we're just not going to trip out about what you just did. That was amazing. And I do like that when it comes down to it, like, everyone brawling out, dude. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the fight with Thanos on Titan. Like, everyone going toe-to-toe with him. It's a little bit of Endgame and Infinity War mixed in it. Like, when everyone's, like, that close quarters combat against Thanos. It was like the hot potato, like, of Endgame, where, like, it's like, you take the gauntlet. All right, T'Challa's got it. All right, Peter, take it. You know? So, like, passing the torch, but now it's, like, specifically with one Infinity Stone. And the back and forth, and everyone just, like, especially when you got Peggy and Natasha, like, whipping the shields at him, like, bang, 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 and just, like, everyone doing their thing. It's pretty dope. I even like, just from a cinematography standpoint, just focusing on the stone while, like, all the battle's still going on, people stepping over it, people trying to reach for it and just kind of get knocked away. Strange trying to hold back the powers inside of him, because at one point, Ultron makes himself large, and so that, like, Strange lets loose, like, the giant octopus, and that ends up grabbing onto Ultron and bringing him down. So it's like, right, because I think, like, at that point, it might even been before, Thor's like, wait, you had that in you the entire time, and you're just waiting till now? But I thought the whole situation, because, like, obviously, like, Gamora has, like, something she uses to destroy the Infinity Stones, because any normal person using the gauntlet trying to destroy the Infinity Stones like Thanos did would ultimately kill themselves. Thanos had the fortune to be himself. Granted, it still jacked him up. And even Hulk, like, messed up his arm trying to use the Infinity Stones. And obviously just, like, even using them to destroy themselves, like, Tony ends up dying in the process. I mean, Tony ends up dying using them just normally. So it's like, it's not something a normal person can do. To be fair, Thanos got like that from, like, the first snap, like, shattered, like, broke the gauntlet. He didn't seem too messed up, but when he used the gauntlet, when he used the stones again to destroy, because the gauntlets acted as a buffer zone, I guess, to it, at least in that extent. He didn't, like, can't suffer the ricochet because he's strong enough for it not to ricochet onto him like that. I guess it's like the justification, because those were specifically made for that, and obviously Tony made a gauntlet to replicate that, but, you know, it's a little different. Regardless, Gamora has her, like Infinity Stone Crusher, and she's using it, and it's sucking up all this stuff. Because it's very much like Infinity War, where everyone's got him chained down and they're holding on to him. I'm like, this is the instance of it working, where we don't have Star-Lord, Peter Quill screwing things up, but it turns out it doesn't. It's like, oh, we won. That was actually pretty easy. It's like, no, I don't feel like it's over. And I like the justification for it. It's such an interesting thing, because I didn't know this at the time, but I've heard this recently, because I think I might have heard it before, but maybe I forgot. In the comics, the Infinity Stones can't be destroyed. Even if they can't even be used to destroy themselves. It's impossible. For the MCU, they made it possible to destroy the Infinity Stones. What's interesting, though, is because there's obviously the conversation in the comics, the Infinity Stones can't work in other universes. It seems like they're not strictly like that in this. They won't work in the TVA, though, which still kind of begs the question then, like, if they can work in other universes, what makes the TVA so different that it can't work there, but it can work other universes, you know? But that in itself is an interesting thing because Gamora is like, he's like, right, the Watcher should have told you, your universes, they're all different. Like, even each universe is unique in its own right. The Infinity Stones are the same. And Gamora's like, right, my device is meant to destroy the Infinity Stones in my universe. Which, like, what that means in the grand scheme of things, I don't know. I'm sure, like, in the multiverse, it's like every person has their signature, like, frequency that they resonate from in their respective universes. And Gamora's, like, device is like attuned to the ones from her universe, but these are just slightly different. Like, even that 1% variation is enough to make it so that they can't be destroyed, because it's set up to destroy the ones from hers, which probably have like a certain component or like frequency that it resonates with to destroy the stones, but that doesn't work in this case. So Ultron's able to run rampant. And so he's like blasting everyone, trying to end all this, because he knows all he has to do is take out Doctor Strange, because he's the one protecting everyone. Plus, he's the one that he still has his time stone. So that's why he was able to reverse time. But it's like, right, here they are stuck in this deadlock. And obviously, there's still the arrow that Clint had left that's got Zola on it. So Peggy and Natasha working together, which was pretty sick. Natasha riding on a bike, riding up the stairs in the building and like jumping. She's like, "This is for you, Clint." And it's like, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. She's a marksman when it comes to guns. Like, I'm sure like she's a weapons expert all across the board. But like, having like Peggy jump up like that, rip the helmet up, and then he gets shot in the eye and he gets downloaded. I was like, that's pretty impressive. And it's like, oh, it looks like it all ends here. I did kept noticing. I was like, I'm noticing that there's a lack of Killmonger in these shots, everyone defending themselves. I'm like, I'm noticed he's not around. And then, you know, Zola's battling, you know, it's like, right, my main objective was to make it so that Hydra, like, runs rampant, but now it's a situation of, like, now my end goal is to crush you. There is the whole end result, too, of, like, well, if that's the case, then, you know, it's like, it's the fear of, like, well, then Zola's just going to take over, isn't he? Well, Killmonger comes over, steals the armor and the Infinity Stones, and starts trying to appease everyone. Like, come on, guys, this could be our chance. You know, Doctor, I know this is your chance. Cousin, like, this could be our chance if it's universe. Thor, like, come on, listen to me. You know, and even saying, Peggy, you could get your guy back. But even then, it's just like, cousin, don't do this. He's like, I'm not your cousin. I mean, to be fair, it's like, and I think that speaks volumes, like, to be fair, Eric's definitely like, he's going to turn a deaf ear. He's not going to listen to his cousin no matter what. Maybe given enough time, he could have like gotten enough time to sit down with him. But it's like, yeah, I think that speaks volume. He was able to talk down the Mad Titan, but not his cousin. Maybe because there's so much deeper rage inside. Because, I mean, in Eric's mind, it's like, oh, we could do so much good. It's like, we've seen what good you've done without the Infinity Stones. What you'll do to that, you know? Who's to say you wouldn't try to do your Ultron thing and go to the multiverse and do your thing as well? But in that moment, Zola gets up and he plans on taking the stones back. So it's like a tug of war match between the two of them, and it's like, this isn't good. What's going to happen? And then Strange in that moment, it's like, right, we weren't meant to destroy the stones, separate them from the body, and he puts them in a pocket dimension, and then he disappears at the end of it. And you're like, what's going on? This was what the Watcher saw. That's why he brought Killmonger along, because it's like, I knew what he knew the entire time what Killmonger. That's why I'm like, you know what Killmonger's done in his universe, so why'd you pick him? It's because he knew that like things had to play out this way. Like he did see the end all be all. He saw how this was going to end, and he needed it to play out that way. And now Steven has to, back in his own pocket, like that, all that's left of his universe is that pocket dimension, and it's like, you have to keep an eye on them forever. He's like, yeah, it's fine. I've got nothing but time, you know? And, you know, what are friends for type of situation? So he has to forever keep an eye on this. Like, you know, it's like he has nothing left. So it's like, it's up to him. It's like, you have to make a sacrifice. He's like, sacrifice? Sacrifice means you have something left to lose. It's like, he has nothing else. And it's like, I think for him, it's like, by protecting by doing this, by helping protect the multiverse, I'm making up for destroying my dimension, you know? Because even Peggy had asked, like, oh, like, you know, she's the one that asked about the thing. She's like, how did that happen? And she was like, same reason of what happened to you, love, you know? And so this is his way to make up to Kristen as well as the entire universe that he destroyed. This is his way to make up for it and save the multiverse. So that was interesting. He can still do some good. So that's still a potential threat out there, but it's basically like the Time Lords and the Daleks. Jeez, I couldn't think of the Daleks' name for a second. Like during the Time War where they kind of got locked away. I know, big, like, nerdy Doctor Who reference, but it kind of it makes me think of that. But, you know, pocket dimension within, like, somewhat of a pocket dimension. But obviously the Watcher goes back, and everyone's going to get sent back to their times, specifically where they left off. And once they do, like, no one's going to ever know what you've done for the multiverse. And that's, you know, and even you won't remember, because the moment you cross through, your memories are going to disappear. And so everyone's going back through, and then you have, you know, Peggy being like, not want to go back, and she's like, what about my happy ending? And he's like, that universe needs Captain Carter. And she kind of looks at Natasha, kind of nods and goes. But even I was like, but happily, like, well, we don't know the full extent of the differences between the universes, but you're at the very least, you're like, because he didn't spoil anything, because I guess he couldn't say this because at first I was like, if he did do that though, well, didn't he say they wouldn't remember, or am I just adding it? I know he said, like, they'd go back to that moment, but I don't remember. Because something later on made me go, like, doesn't Peggy remember? Or did he make sure that Peggy remembered? I'm not sure about that. Like, I have to go back, because I thought the line was, you'd forget too, but maybe they remember everything, just the universes will never know what they've done. But I was thinking, like, yeah, if it is the same, well, we know how things end up. Steve and Peggy get reunited in the main timeline we know of. So I was thinking maybe the same thing, because, like, these timelines are different yet similar. So maybe, you know, but also we don't know, like, the ripple effect of how different things could be. But the fact is the Watcher didn't say anything make me go, like, oh, because they probably just, like, that way we kind of ride around, like, not having to explain the differences in that universe, you know, kind of keep it a little secret. But Natasha has no plans to go back to her universe. It's like, but what did you do? Like, oh, we're nothing but things for you to watch. It's like, oh, did you, like, were you eating popcorn while you were watching Ultron kill all my friends? He's like, no. Like, she's like, you don't care about us, we're just toys for you to watch. She's like, no, I do care about each and every one of you, you know. But once again, we still never got the explanation. Whose oath did he, you know, what does that mean in the grand scheme, that also that he broke his oath? Like, what that mean going forward, but also who he made that oath to. So, oh my God, I can't believe I completely forgot to, like, talk about that, because that's how things ended in that universe, that world. At the beginning, because I forgot, like, right, they did bring everything full circle, because Doctor Strange dropped the zombie universe on top of Ultron. I thought, like, oh my God, last time we saw Thanos had the gauntlet in that universe, but then it's like, no, he's not amongst the bodies, at least we know of, because I'm assuming that means, like, Peter, Scott, and T'Challa were able to save things. They were probably able to at least save some of that universe. Well, this might be before they're able to save that universe where it's just rampant zombies, because the one amongst them ended up being zombie Wanda, and she, obviously he's got all the Infinity Stones, so even she can't do anything against him, and he just wipes out that world, that universe, so, and moves on. But at the end, Natasha, because I love that she's like, I'm not going through that door. He's like, well, the door is more metaphorical, and he takes her to the world from episode 3 where the Avengers are going. So we see Cap doing his thing, we see Carol up in the sky doing her thing too, and it's like, whoa, it's like, yeah, this is a world where the Natasha, this universe, died, you know. And it could use a widow, you know, and she's like, thank you, you know, because this is his way of, like, right, I did simply watch, but no more. It's like, this world was without it, you know, but it could use a widow to fill that spot, and also, like, there's nothing left of her universe. It's like, it'd be horrible to leave her in that universe. So showing that he has changed, that it is like, right, he's not going to be the same Watcher going forward. But obviously, she helped save Nick. And love Loki being like, wait, you're supposed to be dead. She's like, yeah, the same could be said about you, because I'm sure he's dead in her. Well, he's definitely dead in her universe, because he went and destroyed full-blown Ragnarok Asgard way earlier than it in timeline-wise. Well, we don't know how much time has passed in that universe. Like, it still might be like 2015-ish, like Age of Ultron was in the mainline continuity, or by that time it might, like I said, don't know timeline. Well, to be fair, Thor's dead and stuff like that, so maybe Loki is too. Like, even aside from, like, Asgard getting blown up. But yeah, she's going to be sticking around that universe. So it's like how things are going to play out differently. We already know the Avengers are different in that universe. So that's going to be quite fascinating. So you got Captain Carter, you got Captain America, and you got Natasha from a different universe. How that's going to play out, like probably learning the different like differences and similarities. But then we learn, you know, obviously he talks about home, and the conversation is for him, every universe is like a home. You know, he's like for him it's like no, it's no longer just watching. I think he says himself like he's going to protect this multiverse, because for him it's like these aren't just places I watch, like they are all, like the entire multiverse is my home. So any attack on it, I will protect it. So I think going forward, he will have a more active role in the story. He will kind of like start maybe interfering when he needs to some extent. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. That's what I interpreted that as. But like I said, at the end we see Peter and T'Challa together, which I think is interesting because like, what does that mean in it? So it's like I said, I think like that's the best universe. It has the best outcome, but it's like those two working together. He's probably going to become a Ravager. You know, what does the Guardians of the Galaxy look like in that universe? Jane and Thor in his world. Gamora goes back to Tony and hers, and once again we'll get potentially filled in on what that universe entirety, what its story fully is next season possibly. Obviously Killmonger's kind of been dealt with, so like what does his universe look like without him in there, because he's stuck in that pocket dimension with Zola with Vision's body. But then we pop back to to Captain Carter. And like I said, she sounds like she remembers. So that's why I'm like, maybe I was mistaken and everyone remembers. And it's like, yeah, like things are a little crazy. Like, maybe I did hit my head, but it won't be the craziest thing I've seen all day. And then like they find the Hydra Stomper, and it's like there's someone inside. I'm like, wait, what does that mean? Because I thrown it out there episode 1. I was like, I thought they were setting up so that Steve kind of became the Winter Soldier, but he didn't. But now I'm like, so what happened? Did someone preserve Steve's body in that? Was he still in this timeline? Did he eventually still stay with the Hydra Stomper, and that like he got captured, like he's still an older man, still fighting, you know, still doing the Steve Rogers thing of fighting the good fight regardless of anything. So I'm wondering, like, you know, because Peggy kept up the fight after he was gone as well. So what if he kind of still filled that role to some extent, but he kept I don't know if that's what that was implying or what, but it's like, now it answers a question of like, right. I mean, to be fair, we know before everything, like even before they're like happy ending, like that Steve and Peggy did meet again. Actually, they met during Winter Soldier, if I remember correctly. So, but she just hasn't gotten to the point she can meet an older Steve. But if we were going a little closer to the original timeline and everything, but because things are like, you know, that wouldn't have been their happy ending. The end game situation would have been a happy ending, but we're also seeing that things are different now. What the context of all that is, I don't know, but it, you know, sets up just like right. I'm curious in the future, are we going to pop back into any of these universes? This might be the closing epilogues to them. We get like a little shot of like, right, there's stuff going forward, but it's like, right, these are always meant to be like one shots. You know, it's just like we're never going to revisit this storyline or anything. Like, this is it. So I'm curious. I'm really excited to see what they do with season 2. I talked about it before. I know the show has been hit and miss for people. Like, people have had their issues with it. I've talked about it, but I've just never hit the same issues that people have. Like, whether it's the pacing or whether they feel like just there's too much being squeezed in. Because I think in my head, I'm treating it like a one shot of a manga. I'm also treating it like the slice of life of an anime. But even then, it's still like, well, then, you know, the argument could still be like, well, at least a slice of a life in an anime, regardless if it's kind of random or whatnot, it still tells a complete story where people feel. It's just like you're getting like one slim chapter. It's just like, I can understand people's issues with them, but I've still thoroughly really enjoyed every episode. And I'm really excited to see from season 2. Maybe a lot of the issues people had, maybe they'll be able to adjust and kind of correct that in season 2. There's also thoughts about like some of the stuff that they might be bringing in from this multiverse into the live action stuff, because it also begs the question, like the conversation about the Infinity Stones being a little different, like, you know, just a little bit universally, like maybe that plays into like some of the whole stuff about why they don't work in the TVA and stuff like that. So maybe there'll be some tie-in to that in Loki or something like that. Maybe not, because obviously this is, so far continuity-wise, this is the most direct correlation we have like this in Loki. So, am I saying we're going to get like a live-action Watcher? I mean, they've made like cameo appearances in the past, but like this particular Watcher, no. But could he in the future? Yes. But also just like specifically some of these one-off stories, like a Captain Carter, or maybe like something from the zombie world. Like there could be like pulls from those type of situations. So we'll ultimately have to wait and see. But I'm excited to find out the other stories. There was the talk about like, right, a lot of this is phase 1 and 2 stuff that going forward they will obviously implement more recent stuff like phase 3 and phase 4 stuff. I mean, obviously there's been like sprinkles of like references to like phase 4 type of stuff, phase 3 stuff, because like obviously like Marvel Zombies takes place during like Ant-Man and the Wasp / Infinity War, so there's that. But they're probably going to like stick more to 3 and 4 going forward in certain regards. I don't know. There's just a lot of room that they can play with. There's a lot of like alterations they can make in big ways and small ways. But like I said, regardless of everything, I'm very excited to see ultimately what they do in season 2. What the Watcher is like in season 2 is definitely going to be interesting, and what kind of impact this story has had on his story going forward when it comes to the multiverse. We'll have to wait and see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.